Tell me when we're ready to roll. Are we ready over there? Okay, we're gonna come back to the public meeting, and we're going to 5G. It says request for approval of a resolution of the county commissioners of Weber County to approve the 2017 Weber County budget. The 2017 Weber County budget. So it's back in the commissioner's hand. Commissioners, start chatting.
I'll start. I have, believe it or not, I've learned a lot tonight. I do appreciate each of you sharing your comments and concerns and considerations. I had a few of you that I was able to visit with before the meeting, get a little more in depth with, and I've learned a lot from the public comment as well. I've learned a lot over the last 3 months, and over the last year, and over the last 6 years of trying to put this budget together, and I'm grateful that there has been the level of scrutiny on this budget that there should be and has been in years past. I am really grateful for our employees, and I know that they work extremely hard, and I'm looking forward to them having an opportunity to do a little better, to improve themselves. They've earned it, and I'm grateful for that dedication and work ethic that goes forward. I am also very, very concerned about the impact to individuals that any tax increase has. I hate it. I hate it. I don't know how else to say it. I'm a property owner, and it kills me to come in here and write my property tax check. To be honest, maybe more than most of you can imagine for me. It's really, really tough. And I have been compelled by a whole bunch of the comments and emails that I've received over the last little while. There are certain circumstances where this type of thing hurts a lot more than others, and I want to be sensitive to those. I'm thinking of one in particular that I received in an email of an individual who had lost his job a few years ago and was unemployed for a while, and then re-entered the workforce at about a little less than half of what he was making before. And his statement was, how can I paint my house and do any capital improvements on my house when 10% of my income goes to property taxes? I wish I knew how to address all of my fiduciary duties here without doing any kind of a tax increase. It's just it really frustrates me. I'm frustrated that it's our only option. I think I'll take it as a challenge to work with the legislature to give counties different options that are more fair and more equitable. I do appreciate the constructive criticism that's been here tonight. We do hear that, and like I said before, we try to be as proactive as we can. I think you showed some examples of that, but we also want to hear what you have to say. And so, with that being said, if the other commissioners want to say something, I do have a proposal that I'd like to put forward. But if you want to say something first, that'd be fine, or I could throw it out there and you can respond to it.
So again, what Commissioner Gibson touched on, I think we all firmly believe, and we continue to have some concern. On a positive note, I am firmly convinced that the steps we are taking today and into the future in the areas of economic development, in the areas of community development, will strengthen this county moving into the future, and will hopefully, and I believe, and I confidently believe this, that this isn't something we're going to have to even talk about well into the future. We have not only amazing staff, but we have amazing partners. that are helping us move our prosperity initiative forward. So as difficult as things like this are, they are not the answer. Raising taxes is not the answer, and we understand that. The answer is creating growth. The answer is reducing costs and moving the county forward. And that's what we're committed to do. This, unfortunately, is a step that I think has been put in front of us because at this point, the other steps just take a little bit longer to get up and rolling. But I am confident with the team that we have, with the members of this community that are working with us, that there's going to be a big change in Weber County and in Ogden City and their surrounding municipalities. So I'm
Well said.
here. Any suggestions, Commissioner Gibson?
So, I'm a lame duck. I've got 32 days left. I would love to walk out of here with no tax increase. Matter of fact, when we started looking at the books, looking at budgets, looking at pre-budgets, Scott started coming over and telling us where we're at, what we got going on. It was a hard decision because I could definitely kick the ball down the road. We could have said, no more, we'll let this happen, we'll let the next folks move forward with this. I sat down with Sheriff. We went over some things and we started talking about some different issues there. And I came to the realization that I know I've always been committed to make sure we get the sheriff's office whole. I've been committed to that since life. But I also believe that we have other employees here. And now, do we have to treat all our kids the same? Absolutely not. I only have one kid, so she gets treated the same. But if you have 3 or 4 kids, that doesn't have to all be the same. It's not, because the youngest one, they're going to get everything, I guarantee it. They're getting everything because you forgot how to parent by the time they get old enough. And I felt like that it was an easy fix for me with Sheriff's Office. We've heard that from our folks here, from the hearings. But then we've got the rest of our county. And I am sorry, but I believe that Weber County is an awesome place to live. Weber County is a place people want to be. I have an opportunity in some of the organizations I've been part of to see and visit and be with county commissioners from all around the place, all around the United States. And Weber County is awesome. We have a whole plate full of things to do. Now I believe that it's the private sector. That's so important to make government work. You know, we have a new president of the United States. He's going to drain the swamp. He's going to do some amazing things, I think. And we need to do some amazing things here in Weber County. So our law enforcement is something that we put off. The day I came in, I knew there was a problem there because I worked there. And we discussed it. And the sheriff, and I kept saying, no, sheriff. And finally, about a year ago, said, okay, we got to start figuring out what we got to do. We're losing too many people. And they are very important to us. You heard from Lance. I don't even know if Lance is still here. I was working at the sheriff's office at the time those floods started happening, and I was with Lance, and Commissioner Gibson was a new commissioner. I had no idea that I ever even wanted to sit in this seat. And we were out there sandbagging and trying to save houses, and we did. Now, we had some water get in some of them. And we've been working on these projects to make Weber County a better place. Our employees, I understand from the private sector. It's difficult out there. It's tough out there. But our employees are doing what we ask them to do. They are doing more. They are doing more with less. There's not the sheriff's office. I don't even know how many employees we have now, but I know we have a heck of a lot less than we did 10 years ago. I don't know exactly how many, but a whole bunch less. We have been cutting and doing the county employees what we've asked them to do. And so I feel like that I need to do the right thing for Weber County. And I'm not just doing it for our employees, but I'm doing it for all our citizens. If our county employees are doing what they need to be doing, I feel like we need to take care of them. We tell the sheriff's office all the time, and I hear this all the time. You watch it on the news. Our law enforcement, we love our law enforcement. They're great. But we don't do anything about it. We pat them on the back. Sometimes we can't just pat on the back. Sometimes we have to help them out financially. And that's been my goal, and we're going to make that happen for all our citizens of Weber County. Commissioner Gibson, sounds like you have a thought.
Well, it just seems like I hope that the public feels like this has been productive in the way that we've discussed this and gone about this. It has been a long process, and we hope that it's been productive.
Well, and the last guy in there that said that we have already made our decisions up, and you saw I got really short with him. We have not made our decisions up. There is not a decision that has been made. And that just really pushed me overboard because we have not made a decision on what we're going to do here today. I think we're in general looking at a tax increase, but what we're going to do, I have not been part of any discussions, and I know the other two haven't. So they just
Well, I
sorry.
don't think any either of you know what I'm going to say right now. So
Yeah, I don't. So this could be scary.
I just I'm trying to create a motion here that I can support. I'm hoping that it makes sense, because again, this goes back to my philosophy that we shouldn't take a dime more than what we need. I'm really concerned about that capital expenditure line. I know you and I both feel like we should feel pain. We should in our budgeting, because each of us as taxpayers are feeling pain. And I think we've cut the employee area as deep as we can. Now, I think we're in dangerous territory when we start cutting the capital expenditures, because again, we have such a huge line item there, or such a huge backlog, I should say. And with that, I don't want to set us up for failure in the future. But by the same token, I'm going to put more faith in what Commissioner Ebert expressed, that I think we're putting together a plan that helps us through this if we can bridge the next few years. My hope and my goal and my promise to you is that if we're not in a stronger position in relationship to our peer counties within a few short years, you ought to look for some new commissioners. It's going to take some time, but we are working very hard to put a plan together that'll work, and if you'll stick with us, we'll do our best to do that. So with that, I think my proposal is going to be this, and I'll make it in the form of a motion and throw it out there for debate. The motion is this: that we adopt the tentative budget as it was passed on November 1st, I believe it was, with the following exceptions. That we cut from the tentative budget $900,000, which would take and which would come from the capital expenditure line, and that would reduce the tax increase to 19%, around 19% from where we are now. Now, that's pretty basic. We also have a list here of items that were not included in the tentative budget, some intentionally and some unintentionally, that are still on the floor for debate. I would like to see us pass on that today. We make budget adjustments every quarter in a very transparent way, and so where that's a fairly small amount, a number of about $275,000, or somewhere between, well, somewhere in that neighborhood. I would like to see us hold that in the contingency fund, that we can debate those individual issues on a case-by-case basis. I think there's at least some of them that clearly need to be acted on, and frankly, I think there's some different priorities on which ones those ought to be. And so I would like that not to be the purpose or the reason why we don't pass a budget tonight. I think you made one mistake in your assumption that we can pass tonight. I think we do have to pass a tentative budget by December 1st. Is that right? And so I think we have to pass some kind of a budget tonight, and so we can debate all those. But anyway, my proposal is that that we don't do any of these. We put them in the we hold that in the contingency fund and address those with adjustments if so needed. But the basic motion then is to approve the tentative budget as it was adopted, with minus the $900,000, which puts us at about a 19% increase. That's my proposal.
Okay, so for that proposal to move forward or anything, would take a second.
So I would like to ask staff, as we review the capital improvements, as you've really reviewed a 5-year and our 10-year plan that's specific to our capital improvements, what does a reduction of $900,000 do to that 5-year and 10-year plan? And does that create more issues moving into the future? Or do you foresee us being able to manage? My issue and concern is First, we had a specific example of a lighting that we were not able to adjust because it was so far down the capital improvements project. And in reality, that becomes, if we look at that as an investment with a long-term savings, and it wasn't something we were able to do, I don't want to put us in a position where we're making those types of decisions again. And then I know as we've looked at our long-term capital plan, we've kind of, hopefully kind of budgeted out to see where we can be and when we can finish projects, and we've put in lifespan of certain projects. And if we're pushing those projects out past lifespan, it costs us more money. And so, do you have any comments specific to that?
So the capital projects plan, the requests that we have right now that were presented in this last budget cycle totaled $21.3 million. Funding at $2 million a year, it would take us 10 years to get through the capital projects requests we have today. And that assumes that there are no more capital project requests in the next 10 years. Now, if we want to strike $900,000 from that capital projects fund, we will be putting ourselves in that same position where we won't be able to fund everything that we need to fund. Now, if we take the parking structure out and say, okay, we're just going to tear it down and we're not going to replace it, then we could probably do without $900,000 if that's the decision that we want to make. But I just want to say, we used to fund $500,000 a year. Our bond rating agencies told us all the time that was way under, and we knew that. $2 million still doesn't get us through the backlog. It still puts a lot of pressure on the county to be efficient and to prioritize their capital projects, because we can't fund $21 million over the next 5 years, or it's going to take us a long time to get that. So can we get by if we don't do that? I mean, we've gotten by for the last few years, not in an optimal situation. I would hate to see us losing opportunities to pay $68,000 to upgrade our lighting if it's going to save us money in 4 or 5 years. But those are decisions we will have to evaluate every year going forward as to what is the most critical capital projects need if we cut $900,000 out of it.
So, Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think
Go far, Scott, 'cause I
it
got-
clearly puts us in a position where we can't be as proactive as I would like to be with investing in future opportunities. I mean, some of that, but again, I think the public is telling us that we need to cut everywhere we can, and that's my personal belief as well. So I'm torn, but I feel like it's a good compromise.
So I have some issue with taking the $855,000 that's in our contingency fund and stripping that out. The $855,000 is still going to be there. The new commission can decide how they want to spend it. And I disagree with that totally. We're going to only spend $275,000 of it here, but I want to put that back in and before we move forward myself, and that'll be up to you. I do not like the idea of it just left open like that because I think there's good things on this list. I like where we are on this list and I'm comfortable where we are. There's still going to be some left in case you need to do some little project. We have to have some money left in case the snow removal. You know, we have a budget for snow removal. Well, snow removal might be different. Depends on how much snow we get. Depends on how many slides we get in different projects. So sometimes we have to put a lot more money in it. So we need this availability here. But I do not like the idea of just taking that whole thing, this whole list right here, and starting all over. In my opinion, we've discussed it, and I would like that to be part of it. So, but I'm not making a second, or there may not be a second. So if there's not a second, then we move on.
Could I amend the motion?
Absolutely, you could.
It doesn't have a second yet, so it can't be amended
Can't be
unless
amended
it,
Until we have a second, or you could make a new motion.
before you do that, let me just say, I understand where you're coming from, Commissioner. I get that, but, you know, I can't vote for a budget with that entire list intact the way it is right now. And I think that there are opportunities for us to get, through some of that, over the next, even before you leave, over the next little while. We will be doing a budget adjustment at the end of the year. And I'm just, like I said, I'm only trying to propose something that I can vote for. If we want to go through each of those, we can. But with the lateness of the hour, I just feel like it's something that deserves a little more time and negotiation. And if you disagree with that, that's okay. But it probably for me means that I'll vote against the budget. So that's my position.
Again, my only concern is having $855,000 in an open-ended contingency fund.
Well, it's not open-ended though.
Well,
We're still gonna have,
yeah, if we're not line iteming them in, it kind of gives me a feeling that we haven't designated certain amounts for certain specific reasons that I feel comfortable, and we could put anything into that contingency fund at this point. And
well,
so,
it just gives us the opportunity to have another meeting like this where we can work on those other priorities.
You still have the opportunity to, because that can be changed in January, February. If some of this stuff doesn't want to happen, you get two commissioners, they don't want to make that happen, then you go in and redo the budget. Am I not correct, Ricky?
so could I offer this? I have a specific idea where your concern is. If I was to eliminate those items that you have a concern with, but still leave the rest of the line items, would that be more conducive to what
Well,
you're concerned?
my only concern is that I think you do know that I have some concerns, but I don't think I've communicated them all. I'm
Okay.
concerned with quite a few of them, and I'm okay with going through them one by one right now. But I was trying to do something simple, right, and something simpler to help us to kind of to not have to go through one by one tonight at the late hour. But again, because we have, frankly, we have one item on there that is back on the list at the bottom.
Well, I think
about an
in your-
engineer. I don't know if
Yeah.
that came,
I think
if
in
that's
your-
in your proposal today, or if that was in. Anyway, there's a lot of that stuff I'm not, so I was trying to keep it simple in my mind by saying that the tentative budget was this. I was comfortable with the tentative budget. I can work on some of these. There is one on here for sure that I think that we ought to address, and those are simple. It was a simple mistake. We have one of our elected officials, two, I guess, that for some circumstances in the past didn't receive their cost of living adjustment a couple years ago, and we need to bring them to the level of the other the other elected officials. Those times things need to happen. I guess we can go through those one by one and pick them out if you want and vote them up one by one. But I just feel like the most productive thing to do would be to work on this small portion of what we're trying to do over the next weeks. But I'll go where you want me to go.
Mr. Chair, may I interject for just a second? You asked about it, not the chair, but Commissioner Gibson asked about adopting the budget tonight. The tax increase, whatever you decide needs to be adopted tonight, you have until the end of December to adopt a final budget. I'm not sure if that helps or hurts.
So we could adopt a tax increase if we so decided and not worry about any of this stuff on the budget, and then we would have the budget and we could make some changes on that and hit this meeting again in 2 or 3 weeks.
Has to be adopted before the end of the fiscal period, which is December 31st for the budget. Tax increase must be done, but you can certainly do it tonight if you prefer to.
Sounds good.
So
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So if I second it, I can, then after I second, I can make an amendment to the motion. So I will second the motion by Commissioner Gibson.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor that we're gonna pass the budget as is. We're gonna take this expenditures, for further consideration of $855,000 that had $275,565 that was gonna be in the budget, wants to pull that out and then work on that at a later date. That's the motion. And then we were gonna increase capital improvements, cut it in half from $2,062,000 to half, right? Or just 1 million?
It was, I don't remember what the exact number is, but it was my motion was to decrease it by whatever that number is by $900,000.
Oh, by 900,000, that's right. But reduce that by 900,000, so then the capital improvements would only have 1,162,000 in. So that's what you seconded, if you're seconding that.
Well, I'd like to make an amendment to the motion.
Well, we gotta get it, you gotta second it and get it on the floor, and then we can start making amendments.
He did second.
Oh, I haven't called for the vote yet.
You clarified the second. I think that's what you were doing.
I need to call for the vote.
No, he wants to make an
Oh,
amendment
yeah,
before we go.
okay, yeah, gotcha.
I'd like to have discussion on this. My concern is that we have large facilities that are going to have very specific capital needs. And I'm just going to go right now to the correctional facility, which I know has some major needs coming up. And I don't want to cut so much out that we functionally tie our hands again and not allow us. So the motion that I would make is to cut that 900,000 to 500,000. So we would take 500,000 out of that capital improvements line item, and I don't know what number that ends up in. But I think that would still give us enough capital in that fund to still move forward and be productive and be looking around the curve as we've been cautioned to do. That's my only thought.
Okay, so that's one, what do you want to do on this, on the list?
We got 3 commissioners with 3 different ideas. Interesting.
So I didn't think we were going to necessarily adopt a budget tonight. Are we looking to adopt a budget? My concern is, and I truly respect Commissioner Gibson's wanting to work through this list, but I am hesitant to have an open-ended contingency fund, and I would like to either discuss them or adopt it as is, so that we have those lined out, and so the citizens can see what each of those items are in the contingency fund that we're looking at spending.
So
Let me just say though, remember again, when we make adjustments, we make adjustments like this
Correct.
all the time in quarterly. We could do it anytime, but we do it at least quarterly, and it's in the same forum with in public meetings with public attendance and the whole works. And I just don't want anybody to get the intention that this is in an attempt to.
Yeah, that's not my
hide
inference.
anything.
That's not my inference at all.
I
I'm
just,
not- I'm not
I just
inferring
think
that.
that I thought we needed to pass the budget tonight. We definitely, I guess sounds like just a tax increase, but they're intertwined. I would like to see us pass it and then address these issues, in our, in that due process. But I'll,
So we need to pass it and we'll learn what's in it later.
that's not true.
I do not, I'm afraid, and I don't want to short us on capital improvements. And I don't know, I'm the chair, I probably can't make a motion. Can I? Oh, yeah.
Motion
So-
or second it.
I would make an amendment that says we pass the budget as we've outlined it. We have worked on this thing, and worked on this thing, and worked on this thing for months and months and months and months. And yeah, it's 22.52%, started at 25. We have torn a bunch of stuff out of this budget. And in that same notion, we're there, you can come back next year and lower the taxes. Somebody here said they want to have a lower tax increase, Mr. Harvey. So next year you can lower them then. But I think that the capital improvements that we have in Weaver County in the years that I've been here, the 4 years, the correctional facility, we're gonna need a lot of money out there. Cause there is just, it's getting old. It's getting beat up out there. And we need to do some things. We need to do some things in some of our other facilities that we're doing. So my amendment would be that we go back to the original and we pass the 22.52 tax increase and we put this expenditures for these expenditure lists just exactly how it is. And then in January, if you don't like where it's at, then you bring them back to a public hearing and make changes.
Thoughts, Commissioner Gibson, if anybody thought that we were all on the same page, I hope this shows that we're not. So the amendment I would make would be go to 500,000, leave the. To adopt the budget with the expenditures for future consideration under the contingency fund as listed. And, but I am with Commissioner Gibson that we could possibly cut 500,000 out. And so my amendment to the motion would be to reduce 500,000 out of the capital project and to pass the budget as outlined, including the contingency funds and the line items on the contingency fund.
I second it.
So since it's on the floor, let me clarify then. I don't know what that means, because I think that's part of my concern about this list is that some of it, I mean, I saw yesterday, right? And some of it is brand new to me. And so I got to ask questions about what they mean. First of all, when you say this list, is that what's reflected in what was proposed today, Scott? Exactly this list?
So everything that you guys are discussing is expenditures that are already included in the tentative budget. They were in the contingency line item, meaning that they hadn't fully been allocated out. This list allocates out those expenditures, so there's no additional expenses in the budget that you're talking about right now. It's just, do I fund this item or do I fund this item? There's no additional expenses. So the tentative budget was adopted with that money in the contingency fund, all except that last line item, which was originally included in the tentative budget. But all this is switching money between one item to another item. There's no increase in expenses on this list. So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
From the tentative budget?
Yeah, from the tentative budget, we're not changing the expenditures. We're just reallocating the expenditures because that money was in the contingency fund.
I understand
And now we're
that.
trying to allocate it.
I understand that. But,
Okay.
our contingency fund is pretty valuable. Like
I concur.
It's very important as we go through a budget cycle to be able to make minor adjustments. So it is allocating funds that were, they were budgeted in the contingency fund, but it's allocating them to a certain purpose, a lot of which I saw yesterday. And so I guess so tell me about this. In the tentative budget, we had approved an engineer position. It looks like the recommendation on this sheet, I'm assuming it came from one of these two commissioners was to strip that position. Is that stripped in the way you understand that
That is correct. If you
motion?
pass the tentative budget with this item, this sheet of further considerations, that engineering position would be removed from the budget. And that $120,000 would then be reallocated.
But there still would be 579,000 in there if they wanted to move the 120,000. They could take out of that 579 out of the contingency fund to pay for that, is that correct?
That is correct.
But
If you wanted to,
579,000 in relationship to what our contingency fund, the demands are on a contingency fund over a year is not much. It's a penny.
So however, the reason I worded the motion, the amendment to the motion, the way that I did is because Commissioner Gibson proposed that we adopt the tentative budget that we already approved. In that tentative budget, this engineering position was already in there.
correct.
So the motion that he made was off the tentative budget, which has that position in it right now.
Okay.
Has all these positions in.
Yeah, so I
All
don't
this stuff in.
think necessarily
Not
my
in the
intent
tentative
was to
budget.
strip that out. Does that make sense to you?
That's my question.
Yeah, my intent was to, under our contingency, make sure we just have these line items lined out when we pass a budget. So I'll make that clarification on the amendment to the motion, that it was not to strip out the engineering position because that was in the tentative budget. What it was to do was to decrease the reduction from $900,000 to $500,000, but then to adopt the items in the contingency lists, not remove the engineering position. Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
So if I understand the motion correctly, if I may restate it, we're going to reduce the capital improvements from $2,062,000. We're going to pull $500,000 out of that. And then we would also keep the tentative budget as it was, except we would allocate the contingency fund to those items on this list, items for further contingencies, except for the last item on the list.
And that would be
The engineering budget. Yeah, correct.
Correct.
That
Okay.
was the purpose of the motion.
Okay.
Sorry,
Sorry, that's not how I understood. I got
Yeah, that's my
confused on the
intent
different
language.
motions. Okay.
Well, folks, it's really not life and death. It's just a vote, and it's what it is. I mean, I've told you what it would need to happen to get my vote, but I'm okay with moving forward without
Okay.
it.
You ready for me to call for the vote?
Yeah, I'm ready for you to call for the vote.
Okay, so are we clear where we are on this motion?
Crystal, Dave, most importantly, are you, Mr. Wilson, clear on the motion?
More for Scott than for me.
Okay.
Okay.
We need to approve the tax increase, you have to be clear on that, and if you're adopting the final budget tonight, clear on that.
Can we do it in one vote, or do you need two votes?
I would vote twice.
Okay,
I remember, well,
so we have to do the tax increase first, because there's no money, and then we have to do the budget, correct? So the motion would be, that we probably need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the tax increase as outlined with a change to the capital improvements with a reduction of $500,000 to that specific line item,
Okay,
reducing that percentage to 20, probably 1 point something, and
So in the motion that we actually
1.6.
passed, we need to pass the dollar amount of the tax increase. And so the tax increase as proposed at 22% was $7.3 million. If we are going to back out $500,000.
yes,
The tax increase would be $6,850,638. So the motion would be to increase the property taxes by that amount. $6 million.
and what's the percentage on that?
I'll have to get a calculator out to calculate it,
Will
but
you
it's going to
calculate
be,
that out, let us know,
yeah,
21%.
21-ish percent.
So say that number one more time, $6,850,000.
$6,850,638.
The percent is 20.98.
20.98%. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I think you do.
I'll second it. So we have a motion and a second on the floor to pass a property tax increase. The roll call vote.
Commissioner Gibson?
No.
Commissioner Ebert?
Aye.
And Chair Bell?
Aye. Passes. Now we're going to the next part. We're going to the budget. Scott, walk us through this. What we're going to
So
vote on.
We have the tentative budget that has already been approved. If you would like to adjust the tentative budget, you may do so.
Okay.
You may allocate items out from the contingency fund, or if you would like, you may wait and pass a final budget sometime before December 31st. The tax increase was the only thing we had to pass tonight, so if you want to further discuss any of these items, we can wait and make a final decision on the allocation of those expenditures.
It'll be up to you two, but I would like to see us move forward and get this done.
Made my position. I can't say anymore. I'm not comfortable with that list.
Okay. Think? I could, okay. I'll make a motion that we pass the tentative budget as it is with this list in there as is, everything just as is, including the engineer for the tentative budget would be added in that list, right? That's what I'm saying.
So we are saying we are not striking, because the engineer was in the tentative budget, and you would like to leave the engineer in the budget.
Correct.
I want to put the engineer back in the budget,
Okay,
and I want to pass everything in this list as is.
okay.
So just as a clarification, on the approved changes side, on the list,
Yes.
okay, so I'll second that motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion. Let's have some more discussion if anyone wants to discuss. Commissioner Gibson?
Nope.
Commissioner Ebert? Seeing none, I'm going to call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gibson,
No.
Commissioner Ebert,
I,
Chair Bell.
Aye. It passes. We now have a budget, and we now have somewhere to work from, guys. We're going to the next item on our agenda, and that is public comment. So we've done public comment as far as this goes, but if you have any other item you want to have public comment on, now's the time. Come on down.
We put him to sleep.
No, you've disappointed us. Another 30 days wouldn't have hurt to finalize the budget.
Thank you. Okay, seeing none, I'll go to number I. Adjournment. Who wants to do it?
We adjourn.
second.
I got a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye. We're adjourned. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you for coming. Done.